Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your local experts on all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Listen in as they discuss the current state of the market, the latest trends, and have a little fun while doing it. We do want to say the opinions voiced on this podcast are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individuals. All right, y'all, we're back with another episode of This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale. Woo! We're here.
Yes, we are.
Putting the real in real estate.
You used that like a week ago, man. Like,
Missy, we got to come up with some more.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any good ideas on that,
shiny and penny.
Oh, boy.
please help us. Please, I am begging right now. I'll buy you a beer if you give us some good little taglines right there.
yeah,
Mark it, put it down, put it in your notes, whatever.
I'll buy you a beer.
That's it. I know a guy that can make that happen. So, hi, Bryan.
Hey, Jonathan.
We had a great night at Cedar Glade last night. In other news, and we started Singo, or music bingo, or whatever we're supposed to call it, with Ozzy from Mayday, and had a packed tap room. Man, it was a good time.
Mayday beer on draft.
We still do.
Nice.
Yeah, we found it, pulled it out of a closet. No, I'm just kidding, not really. But it was in somebody's kegerator, untapped. Yeah.
Oh,
so
cool. That's awesome.
Anyway, it was a good night. It was a good night, really good night. Interesting stuff in the market here lately.
Let's just dive into
Let's do this.
Market movers and
All right.
what kind of show would we be if we didn't talk about THDA? And I'm just kidding.
I was like, this isn't what we prepped for, but whatever. I'm rolling with it.
We got to talk about tariffs, right?
Man, I try to stay up with a lot of things, and my goal in life is to like this quest for understanding. Right. Like, okay, here's what's going on. Okay, I may not agree with it, but here's probably why.
Right.
Maybe it'll work. Blah blah blah. Man, I am scratching my ugly bald head these days.
Well, I think for the sake of this show and time and people tuning out and zoning out, we probably ought to limit the conversation to how tariffs are impacting the mortgage and the real estate market, because the broader picture is too much to dive into. I'll say this.
Except this. Go ahead.
I'll say Trump has made no bones about it. He's like, look, this is going to hurt. This is not going to be fun while we start. Now, his promise is that we've got to go through this to come out on the other side. His counterparts are saying the other side is not pretty, and we don't want to go through this. We want like global free trade. So
agree or disagree with that part of it.
Time will tell us that outcome, but the short term, nobody is saying it's not going to hurt.
Well, and here's the thing, Bryan. We've been saying that in this show for several years now, is that in order for us to in order for mortgage interest rates to come down, right, and in order for us to not have $6 eggs and all of that kind of stuff, the only way you curb inflation is you go through a period of time where it hurts. And the Fed has attempted to do this soft landing thing. Yeah. I personally think it was an absolute waste of time, and it just prolonged the inevitable. Mm-hmm. That's my personal opinion. And it has not worked. And we have not soft landed. If anything, we're stagflation, or right at it.
But that's got more to do with, I think, the lock-in effect of when you're talking about stagflation, I think you're talking about just specifically in the real estate industry.
No, I'm talking about all of it.
I think we have inflation everywhere else.
Yeah,
and now we've that has slowed down, but I think the lock-in effect is what's kind of hurt the real estate market the most, just from the lack of volume of transactions.
Because people can't.
Right.
Like you said, they're locked in.
So that's where you see, I think, that stagflation. I think you're right. We've always said that we're going to have to go through some pain,
and we haven't really done it.
But but we didn't anticipate the pain would be so self-inflicted. Like this didn't have to happen. Now, is it the right thing to happen? Again, we stay out of our political opinions for the most part on this show. We will find out, though. There will be a reckoning.
Will it be the right pain? Right. I guess
there will be a reckoning on this. We will either think, oh man, it worked out, or it didn't. And every other time there have been tariffs in place, there's not a good history on this. So what makes this situation different?
We will see.
Yeah.
And, like you said, there's so many, I've read so many articles about the particular acts that are happening and, pro and against, right? And so we'll just have to see. But as far as how everybody's reacting, that in our scope of expertise, where are we at on that?
So it's wild because last week the tariffs went into play, right? And so the immediate reaction was mortgage rates fell through the floor. They moved significantly lower. And I'll say significantly lower. They were the lowest levels they'd been in 2025. It's a very short year at this point, right? We're at the end of March when this is happening. So to say that they're the lowest they've been all year.
It was basically like roughly low sixes. Right. I know you're limited on what you can say.
Right. But it's not like but I think if your savvy people saw that as what it was, right? And anytime there is a shock to the equities markets, so stock markets, mutual funds, things like that, there's usually a flight to safety. And that means money's going to start flowing to bonds, and it's going to drive interest rates for consumers lower. And that's exactly what happened. Now, the absolute knee-jerk reaction to that, which is not surprising, is that tariffs are extremely inflationary. And the reason you have higher interest rates in most economic markets is to try to slow down inflation, to slow down spending, to slow down borrowing, investing in businesses. It
essentially pulls money out of the economy, makes the value of the currency go up.
And this is the dichotomy here is like we're expecting this to cause American companies to open more factories in America, but where are they going to get the funding to do that if interest rates are higher because of the tariffs that are in place?
And that also doesn't account for the time frame involved.
How long it takes to get that up and going,
and the jobs created,
and a lot of CEOs are, I think, very hesitant to do this because they are like, well, what if this is a short-term thing? What if we put all this money into to getting a plant operational? And a lot of times that might even mean taking something down to the ground and rebuilding it back up to get it up to current modern.
And that this president is not going to be president next, right?
Theoretically.
Yeah. So that's funny. I caught you with one there. But theoretically
theoretically he's only going to have 2 terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I've
never seen Bryan speechless. Have you ever seen that trend? His terms will be up. He'll be done. Barring something.
He told us we'd never have to vote for him again if he won this election, right?
Yeah.
What did he mean by that?
Yeah. Anyway, barring something super historic.
Yeah.
So as a CEO, you would look at that and go, it is a very good possibility that it's short lived.
Well, and
historically we see. You see it flip flop every single time, right? A Republican, then a Democrat, then a Republican, then a Democrat.
And that I go back to something my uncle, who's so smart, said, and I remember it was, it was probably 2006 or 7, maybe 2008. We were sitting around the breakfast table on a beach vacation, and he said, America thinks in election cycles. Our global adversaries think in dynasties.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I mean, how true is that? Every 4 years, it seems like we rechart our course, and it's how fast can we undo what the last guy did?
Mm-hmm.
And we're not building towards anything consistent. We're very unreliable as a trade partner, as an ally. And that kind of volatility on a global scale concerns me.
That's a very good point.
It concerns me about our ability to be the leader of the free world if every 4 years it's going to not just shift on foreign
Reverse.
policies, domestic policies, everything, but actually just completely go in 180 degrees the other direction.
And that particular problem is getting exacerbated by a flight to the extremes.
Right.
I mean, the erosion of the middle in politics, it's real and it's happening, and it's fueled by social media. It's fueled by, news
coverage, media,
all of it. Yeah.
Not just social media, but the actual media. So in the short term now, and I got an update from Mortgage News Daily this morning, and it was like, rates are the highest now that they've been since February. But which sounds concerning, but if you look at if you didn't know about tariffs and you just looked at like a chart, you would be like,
it just kind of did this.
Yeah, what happened there? Why did it go down? But it's just right back up to where it was. So it's not
like a little hiccup.
It's not in a spot yet where it's like I would feel super alarmed that we're going to get back up into the mid sevens or the high sevens on rates. But that being said, the Federal Reserve has. If they were walking a tightrope trying to get us to a soft landing, the tightrope that they're walking now is to try to keep us out of an incredibly severe recession or depression. So that's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah. Wow. And here's the thing, like here in Rutherford County, we see one immediate, positive impact. Nissan decides not to cut one of their shifts that they were talking about. So they've reversed course just a little bit on some of their stuff. But the skepticism involved there, for me at least, is okay. That's their knee jerk reaction. 6 months from now, is it going to be worse to where they? Yeah. I mean, they did that as a reaction to the tariffs, specifically involving Mexico. Yeah. And importing parts and whole cars and everything. Right. And so it's like that's what they want to do right now with the information that we have right now. Right. And that information is going to completely change.
How many cars are they selling? Do they need that third line? Do they need that third shift?
And here's the thing: if we hit a depression, like a true depression, or even a really deep recession, everything's going to get cut. Yeah, I mean, it has to.
Yeah, I feel like we live in a world now where cycles are short. Like the news cycle is shorter. The economic patterns are shorter. Everything's faster, shorter. Mm-hmm. And so, like in the 30s, we go into a depression that lasts the full 11, 12 years until we get into World War II, and that kind of lifts us out of it. Mm-hmm. And then after 2008, it was a full on 5-6 year recovery until things started really getting going again. We're again, nobody's saying there's not going to be some pain here. What's the recovery going to look like? How fast will we bounce back to an economy that's booming and going?
Yeah, and I mean, even I love what you said there, because even we've talked about this a bunch in here, is the whole concept of a buyer's market and a seller's market. Yeah. You have your historical norms where 7 months of inventory, blah, blah, blah. Right. That's an even market, and anything over that's a buyer's market. It is a buyer's market right now. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just saying it. It is a buyer's market right now. Yeah. If you are a buyer, you have the power. And a seller, if they really need to sell, then they're going to have to do the things to get the house sold. Yeah. And so, by action, it is a buyer's market. Yeah. Now, by our traditional metrics, it's not. Well, the traditional metrics are wrong in this current market.
They just don't apply anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Yep. We've grown past them. Yep. Good, bad, or indifferent.
It is.
We've grown past them.
And we've been saying that for a while too.
Yeah.
Is that all for market movers
I think so.
and headlines? I think it's the headline of the month, right?
No doubt. Yeah. No doubt. Hey, and listen, I'm gonna speak directly to you, and that is everybody's anxious. Everybody's anxious about something, and it might be tariffs, and it might be Ukraine or Russia, or it might be, their job, or it might be, are we even still talking about Doge? I feel like we talked about that.
Yeah, that's
But it's weird. I haven't even heard Elon Musk's name in the last 10 days. It's bizarre.
When I hear it, it's that he's at odds with this tariff idea. But
okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. Anyway, everybody's anxious about something. So I would ask you, have a little extra patience, have a little extra kindness, right? If
That's
you're
so
anxious, so is the person next to you,
Yeah.
right? And you don't know if they're working at Bridgestone and they're about to lose their job, if they're working at Nissan and they were going to lose their job and now they're not going to lose their job, but they still might lose their job.
Yeah.
I mean, just have a little extra patience with folks.
Yeah. And save. That's a pro tip for later.
Yeah.
This is real?
This is real.
Let's do it.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
It took me a second to figure out what I was looking at. That's a lot of
So,
just dead animals.
a wonderful woman that I work with, her husband's a taxidermist. I don't think this is from their home, though. It might be from his office.
Is that a turkey tail?
Yeah.
By itself on the wall?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that those pictures involve
Those are the hunts.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So my
Just wild.
my wife's got an aunt and uncle who the uncle was a big game hunter, and I only went to their home once, but they had a basement and like your normal family basement, but then there was a room, and you go into that room and it was like you walked into like Museum of Natural History.
Heck yeah.
It was awesome.
That's awesome. All right, I got homework for all y'all. If you've never watched it, you need to go onto YouTube and look up Chuck Testa. Have you ever seen Chuck Testa?
No.
This is Chuck Testa's house. I'm certain of this. For the best real life dead animals, period.
I think I have seen this. Okay.
So good.
Moving on. What else we got? Shiny penny?
Yeah.
Just moving.
So real shiny penny. My son was digging. He found himself getting into coins a little bit.
Okay.
And I have this huge jar of coins, and he found a whatever, I don't remember the year, wheat penny.
Okay.
And he said, I'm pretty sure that this penny, that is not shiny, by the way, is worth about $1,200.
Serious?
Yes.
And its current condition and everything?
I mean, I don't know about all that part, but okay, let's say he's half wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, a lot of times half wrong is dead wrong on that, and it's like just a penny.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know either, but anyway,
cool.
It was pretty exciting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was working in the bank branch, every once in a while, very rarely, would see like one of the silver notes come through. And so that is like a $5 bill, but the serial number's red.
Yeah.
And those are always cool to have. I've got a couple of them that I held on to.
I got a bunch of $2 bills.
Yeah.
Just because it's just weird.
As far as the bank is concerned, that $5 bill is $5.
Right.
So I can give them a $10 bill and take two of those red notes out of that tiller drawer, and that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
what are they worth?
I think I could. I don't know. They're probably not much because I don't think that they were in like great condition. They were a little wrinkled and stuff. So I don't think that they were worth a whole lot or anything.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was I gonna say?
Real shiny penny.
Yeah, I can't remember. Oh well, move on.
I got a personal one.
Okay.
Got a couple of listings coming up.
Good for
Let's
you.
go.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So signing paperwork today. 414 Beaumont.
Okay.
It's out in Cascade Falls, Walter Hill area.
Nice.
Beautiful house, great condition. Very excited about that one. And then we've got another little house in off of Dilton Mankin, which is off of Bradyville.
Yeah.
Little starter house with an expandable attic. Totally expandable. It's mostly floored. And that's a nice. It's got a big lot too, almost a full acre lot.
Nice.
So we're actually Sam Gordon is taking pictures. I think like literally right now.
Nice.
So pretty excited about that. That'll go live today. The Beaumont one will go live in a couple days.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Shiny pennies.
Wrapping it up.
Let's go. Pro tip. All right.
This is a fun one. There were shots fired in the Nashville mortgage social media world this week. And I'm not naming any names, but somebody posted a reel to Instagram, TikTok, if you will, or whatever, probably both. And somebody else said, normally I would just roll my eyes and keep on scrolling, but this is so incorrect. I have to come back on it. And it was just like, boom, boom, boom. Like, wow. I don't know if there'll be any back and forth. It'll probably just quietly go away. But the concept here is if you've got 15% to put down on a house, you will get a better interest rate if you put less money down because your PMI will you have more PMI coverage. And so the concept is get the better rate and keep your cash liquid. And put down 3%, 5%, you know, whatever you're allowed to do based on whether you're a first-time home buyer or a repeat home buyer. And and then as soon as you close, after a month or two, let the servicing settle, call the company up and do a recast, which a recast is when you make a large one-time principal payment and it reduces your principal and it re-amortizes the loan. So you get the lower rate that would be, or the lower monthly payment on the lower interest rate that you're able to lock in because you only financed, because you only put down 5% instead of 15%. And the counter argument from the other lender is, yeah, but the PMI rate at 5% or at 3% is so drastically different than the PMI rate that you would pay at 15%. And most servicers and lenders will require you to have the PMI for at least a year, maybe two, before it can be dropped. So with the money that you will save in that 1/8 of a point better interest rate is less than what you will pay in a higher PMI. And so and Jonathan and I talked about this earlier in the day, and to his point, it's like, well, you know, over time, that 1/8 of a point will make a big difference. And I was like, yeah, if you stay in the house for 30 years, that 1/8 of a point, you'll come out ahead.
The reality is people don't stay in their houses more than 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. And if you are going to, you'll have an opportunity at some point to refinance.
Exactly.
So what are you really doing? You're jumping over pennies to save, or jumping over dimes to save nickels or whatever, you know? And so at the end of the day, it's like, just start it out with the 15% down payment and make your life a little simpler. And two, have a conversation with your mortgage lender who will educate you on these things. And
I'm going to throw 3 out there. Ask your mortgage lender tough questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because my question when you and I talked about this is, what does this other person get out of it? Right? What is the purpose? Why is this person saying that?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that there's one possible reason is that I think you might have said this is, you know, to generate conversation and specifically generate conversation about that person.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of create a social media.
Well, it's a post, right? So if you want to be an influencer on social media, coming out with hot takes is that make you look,
especially if they're a little controversial,
smart. Yeah.
Right? Or different than what everybody else is saying. But here's the other piece of it. And another mortgage lender, a different mortgage lender than the one that fired back, said, yes, but also if, and this is it, right? We got to talk about commission. We've been talking about realtors commissions now for over a year. So I'm going to talk about yours now this time. Okay. Is if you finance more money, right? If you finance a higher amount, you make a little bit more money.
Right.
Now it's not a ton, right? It's percentages, but it is more.
Yeah.
Okay. But also, you taught me something that I didn't know, and that is there's an amount if you recast that it affects your payment. Like you get some pulled back.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, in this initial post, all the example numbers fell under the radar of where some of that commission would get pulled back.
Could be any kind of early payoff.
So I'm curious to know what that lender would say if I was going to put 40% down.
Well, once you get past the PMI threshold, right? So the idea here is that your pricing will be a little bit better even at 15% down than at 20% down because you have PMI.
Right.
And
Hear me out.
That's ensuring
If my plan was to put 40% down, would that person still tell me to put 3% down and recast 37%? Because then that person would lose some of that earned commission.
I would sure hope not, for the simple fact that like you will, like once you get past the 20% to like where you're at 25% down, it starts to move back in your favor. So at 25% down, you're going to get better terms than you would at 20% down, better than you would.
So then why not tell people to save another 5%?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, because
that's the other side of the equation.
Of a $500,000 house, you can't just save that in a few months.
But you can if you wait, if you're hand tied to your house anyway.
You ought to really be making your decision based on when you need to buy a house.
I know.
And
my point is, if you're going to say this way to save on the interest rate,
I see what your point
why
is.
would you not say this way to save on the interest rate? Because that delays
because
the process.
Any to what Jonathan's saying, any time in the first 6 to 7 months or so of a mortgage, if it's paid off, the investor comes back to the lender and says, "Hey, this loan got paid off before we had a chance to make any money on it. We want all of our revenue that we paid to you back." And if there's a curtailment, which is like a large principal payment of typically more than 25 to 30%, they'll come after 25. They'll come after 25 to 30%. Whatever that curtailment was, they'll come back and they'll call that revenue that they paid the lender, the originating bank or the originating lender for doing the mortgage. They'll come back and take that revenue back from them. And so, let's to do the work for a commission, and then
6 months later,
find out that you're having to give that money back. That's not a fun experience.
No, I didn't even know that was a thing, and I learned that from you fairly recently. But it was such a bit of advice given in such a vacuum.
Yeah,
that it just anyway.
Yeah. It's interesting, though. I mean, at the end of the day, I love your comment there. Ask your mortgage lender tough questions. Ask your real estate agent tough questions. Have those conversations, and then make your decision on who you're going to use based on who's going to work for you, give you the best advice, and give you the right solutions.
And be honest with you.
It's not just about the interest rate. There are times when a conventional loan that's going to have a higher interest rate than an FHA loan are going to make total sense for somebody. But if somebody's just selling interest rate, they're going to push everybody to FHA loans because FHA is going to have a lower rate. But the PMI consequences are so different based on certain circumstances and your credit score,
how long you're going to be in the house,
how long you're going to be in the house. So I always say I want my clients to be able to sit down at a family reunion, and explain to their uncle why they got the loan they got compared to whatever their uncle thinks they should have gotten.
Yep. And again, ask the question, if I do this instead of this, what you're telling me to do, this is what I thought I was going to want to do, and you're telling me to do this, what's in it for you?
Right.
Just ask the question.
Yeah. And then you make the decision. I'm just here to guide you and advise you. At the end of the day, what I think might be best for you, you may disagree with, and you need the loan officer who's going to say, "Okay, let's go. Let's do it your way." It's your way.
But if I ask you that question and you get mad at me, you're not my guy.
Right.
I just want to know what's in it for you. I'm okay with you getting paid. I want you to get paid.
Right. I don't think anybody expects their mortgage company to do the loan at a loss.
But if you tell me,
or for free even,
if everything I know about everything that I know, right, and I come to you and I say I'm going to do an FHA loan, and I have no idea if this is true, so just throwing this out there, okay? And I find out that you make more on a conventional, and you're pushing for me to do conventional instead of FHA.
Yeah.
And you never tell me that, and I'm sitting here going, no, I really think I should do FHA, and I end up going with what you said, and you make a couple $1,000 more or whatever. I'm gonna be pissed.
So to give a little light on,
totally made all that up, by the way.
To give a little light on this, the mortgage loan officer's commission cannot be based on what product is chosen. Okay, a mortgage loan officer's commission cannot be based on whether it is a conventional FHA, rural development, VA loan.
Interesting.
That is going to, our commission tiers as mortgage loan officers is going to be the same on every product across the scale.
But it can be based on the loan amount.
It is based, it is a set percentage of the loan amount.
So go ahead.
That's the mortgage loan officer's commission. The revenue that an investor pays to the lending company will be different based on programs. So the margins, the revenue that passes to the lender might be higher on a FHA loan than a conventional loan.
So your Primis mortgage might be more inclined to want to do
right
a certain type of loan as opposed to another.
But we pay our loan officers the same so that our loan officers, because our loan officers, they just want to close loans.
Sure.
We want to give the best loan for that person. So we're going to make the same no matter what.
But if you own the mortgage company,
If you're a broker,
or you own the mortgage company that you also work with, you're a small little boutique
if you're
shop
running
or
a
whatever.
P&L, is what we call that model, then you're aware.
Yeah.
You're aware.
So anyway,
And there are great brokers who do not care about that stuff.
There are. And I'd say the majority of them, right? That don't.
They won't be in business for very long.
But ask
If
the
they have wrong
question.
motivations.
Consumers, ask the question. Know enough to ask a question.
Yeah.
And then gauge the answer.
Do have a comment from our guy, Shannon Wheeler.
I knew Shannon was
I
going to
knew
jump
it.
in on
Love you,
this.
Shannon. Tell us all the ways we're wrong, Shannon.
I think this is really on point. I think y'all will too. He said, I think we should coin a new term, snagflation. If you see a rate/house that works for you, snag it. If not, slowly walk away until it does. The only market you and Bryan can really help anyone in is the one your clients find themselves in at that very moment, and it makes sense for their life. I can't guess correctly from day to day. Solve your housing/payment needs. Don't try to time the market.
Shannon Wheeler,
That's spot on, buddy.
good job, buddy.
Spot on. And I'll-
Appreciate you.
And I'll rephrase what he said a little bit, or how I interpreted what he said a little bit. The only market we can help somebody in is the market that they find themselves in. Guess what that also means?
They got to be in a market.
That means we can help them in any market.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
there you go. That was good.
Y'all, I don't even know why I'm on this show. Shannon, what are you doing? Get down here, buddy.
We should have Shannon as a guest. We brought a realtor in a couple
We
weeks ago.
should.
So
Let's bring Shannon.
Shannon,
in.
let's get you in here.
All right. I love it.
Good stuff, y'all. I think that's it, right?
I think that's it.
We did a show.
We did a show. We got Scuffle Moss Treeman and Count Drahoon on Friday night. If you have not been to, listen, it's weird. It's fun. And I promise you there's nothing else like it in Murfreesboro.
That's facts.
And probably not in Middle Tennessee.
No, there's not.
So come on down to Cedar Glade. It's at 8 o'clock Friday night. It lasts about an hour and a half. It's $10. It's super cheap. I don't even care if you buy a beer. Just come down and hang out.
Yeah.
It is
Experience.
a treat. It is an experience. Yes.
Love it. All right, y'all. We'll see you on the next one. Oh, hang on.
Run to that ribbon cutting and be there 5 minutes after it starts.
Yeah, you should drive if you'll get there faster.
Good show, folks.
I like this.
Thank you for listening to another episode of This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your go-to resource for all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We will see y'all on the next one.
Now for the nitty-gritty. Primis Mortgage Company is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC. Primis Mortgage NMLS number 1894879, BK number 1042893, ML number 1894879. As always, all loans are subject to credit approval and product guidelines. Equal housing lender.